good, guys? WBR. We're going to be talking about Spurs Golden State today. As you all know, Golden State destroys the San Antonio Spurs by 30 with the final score 120-90. Steph Curry drops 37 in 28 minutes. What do you have to say about this, MF?
Oh, man. I don't even know where to start here. I was so excited for this matchup. Like the whole week, the whole month actually. I put this on my calendar, and boy, was I disappointed in this game just because of how lopsided it was. I did predict that Golden State was going to win, especially at home. Tim Duncan is out. For weeks now, I've been saying Golden State is the best team in the NBA, and I was absolutely and utterly reassured after this one game. I tweeted this, one of my official predictions. The spread was at -5 for Golden State. That was just so undervalued. So that's why I placed an official bet on that one. They're going to cover, and did they cover by 30 points. Steph Curry was out of control. 37 points. That's the most by far that the San Antonio have allowed by one player in the entire season. And think about this. This is in 28 minutes. He didn't even play the fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, when you're shooting threes from the logo, it's pretty hard to stop.
Oh, absolutely. 37 points. And then he gets a lot of help from his bench, which is unreal. Livingston, Brandon Rush, and Spates, 12 points, 13 points, 13 points, respectively.
It was just a layup drill, though.
Yeah. None of them played more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's
They were
unreal.
doing Spurs things to the Spurs.
Yeah, and the Spurs, I'm telling you, this exposed them. A lot of people are saying, I was on Twitter, they're like, yeah, the Spurs, it's just one game. If Tim Duncan was there, it'd all be different. No, that's not what happens. You go into Oracle Arena against the Golden State Warriors, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. They're going to go 41-0 at home. They are the best team in the NBA, and it's not even close. They are the best team ever. Like, that's what I'm saying right now to everybody, all the people around the world. This is the greatest NBA team to ever be assembled. If they versed Michael Jordan's Bulls, they would sweep the Bulls.
Hey, man, that remains to be seen. We're not even in the playoffs.
They're going to go 41-0 at home.
Everybody's talking about three-peats and stuff. They're not even in the playoffs. They haven't made it through anything. They haven't won anything yet. So
they won the title last year in convincing fashion.
It was not convincing
fashion. It was very convincing.
Let's not lie. Everybody was saying that he didn't guard any in all the rounds. He didn't guard any first-string guards.
Absolutely. Blah, blah. I was one of those people.
Everybody was counting him out. It wasn't convincing fashion. Yeah. Everybody was like, it was a fluke. Everybody was saying it was a fluke, so you can't even say that.
I myself also said they were lucky. But in terms of the other team not being fully healthy, but regardless, I haven't seen a dismantling of a team since the Lakers went 16-1. Like, seriously, that's how intense it was last year. But this year is the real test for them, and they haven't lost at home, nor did San Antonio. But this one game, it reassured myself that they are the best team, and that the official power rankings, Spurs being number 1, was completely wrong.
I just don't think the Spurs were ready for this game. They looked so scared, like, especially Demarcus Aldridge. He was just not ready for these big primetime games, missing layups, playing soft. Like, he couldn't even move Draymond. He wasn't doing his usual turnarounds and stuff. And then, I don't know, what was, they're supposed to be the number 1 defense. They're just letting in dunks and layups.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But, I mean, it is one game, and it was at the Oracle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not convinced yet.
Well, the thing about Aldridge, for the past couple weeks, I also have been saying he's not fit for these primetime games and all that because he's used to playing Portland, right? The thing is, this just proved to me so much, this one game. He's not going to be playing any better in the playoffs. I really don't think so. That's when the primetime, the lights are going to be more exposed on him. Mm-hmm. So he's not going to be playing as good. And the San Antonio Spurs, they were afraid a little bit. They were kind of scared when they were in Oracle, and they should be, because they're versing the best team in the NBA in the most difficult place to win in the history of the NBA.
The Spurs had 20 plus turnovers. The next time they meet up, that's not gonna happen. They're probably gonna have Tim Duncan again.
Yeah, so maybe they'll lose.
Gonna get better.
Yeah, so maybe they'll lose by 15 instead of 30.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
That's what I'm saying. Golden State is the greatest team ever assembled, man. 41-0 at home. I'm still predicting it. It's gonna happen, guys. So, what a game, though. I can't believe they just destroyed them.
That was dismantling, yeah.
Yeah, and they threw so many different defenders on Curry. Started off with Danny Green. He quickly destroyed him.
Well, nobody else came to play in the Spurs except for Kawhi.
Kawhi Leonard guarded him, and Curry was just dancing all over him as well. So, Very interesting to see. He's going to win MVP again this year, no doubt.
Well, he's a runaway at this point.
No doubt right now he's winning it. But yeah, that's that game. So very interesting. But we also want to talk a little bit more about other things. What happened last night was Demarcus Cousins.
Well, yeah, he stole the show yesterday. You know, everybody was excited about the Spurs game, the Golden State game, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, I just started tuning into the other one because it was a blowout.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, Boogie has 40. Then all of a sudden he has 50. Then he ended up with how much? 56?
56, yeah.
56. Well, he should have had more. Like, he fouled out with that last foul they called on him. The refs just did not want the Kings to win that game. Let me tell you something.
If everybody was watching it in overtime, that's exactly what it appeared. I'm not a big Boogie or Sacramento Kings fan in general, but I saw exactly what you were talking about.
That was just bogus. All these random calls, and then the second overtime, like I swear, both teams scored like 5 points total because the refs were just calling weird things. They weren't making layups. The
refs were really confusing. Actually, it was both ways. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, I think the moment was just too big, and there was like such a big animosity in the air, and then the refs just lost control, and they tried to take control by calling all the wrong calls, and it just snowballed into something ugly.
Yeah, it's interesting because everybody on their calendar was Golden State versus Spurs, right? That was the big game. But just an hour and a half drive away was the real game, double overtime in Sacramento, right? And then if you notice, it's 56 points he had this game. The game before that, he had 48 points. That's a lot of points between two games. Rondo did have 20 assists as well. But what does this mean for Demarcus Cousins?
I think he's just trying to make a statement because he feels like he should be an all-star starter.
And he should be.
And as he should.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's this weird lack of center at his position because they count them all as forwards.
Yeah.
So then a lot of centers like Drummond, they get snubbed. So I think he's trying to make a statement to the league that he's the best big man in the game and he should be the starter.
Combined for 104 points? Like, are you kidding me? That's unreal. But
he's doing it in, like, so many different ways.
Yeah.
Mid-range, layups, some threes here and there, some mid-range games over the left shoulder, over the right shoulder. He's showing his full skill set. It's pretty
dominant. Like,
his full skill set, that's right.
So it sucks that they lost that game with Troy Daniels scoring that
ice in his veins,
huge three.
He was 8 for 11 from deep, though.
But come on, that last call on Cousins should not have been called.
That was the biggest rebound.
I thought it was going to be an and one. That's why
should have been
an and one.
It was just a huge rebound, and he just outpowers 3 defenders, and the ref blows the whistle, calls it offensive.
Yeah,
he should have ended up with like 60, 65 easily.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was yesterday's game. But WBR has not talked about David Blatt getting fired yet, though, if you guys all pay attention. So he gets fired. Tyronn Lue comes in, loses his first game in embarrassing fashion against the Chicago Bulls at home. At home, they lose by, I think it was near 30 points. So what do you think about this coaching move? A lot of the other coaches in the NBA were saying how this is just, bad luck for him. He didn't make actually that bad of a job. They just got rid of him for no reason. What do you think about this? And what do you think of Tyronn Lue?
Well, we kind of alluded to this our previous podcast when they got blown out by the Warriors. I was asking you what the Cavaliers need to do or could do, but I always assumed it would be after the season because they were still first in the East, right? So it kind of caught me off by surprise that he just got canned. I think the stat was no head coach has been fired when they had the number 1 seed since since the league broke into conferences back in 69 or 71, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. 70-71 season.
But I mean, I understand from the Cavs' perspective, but that just really sucks for David Blatt.
He's probably gonna get a job though. I think he's probably gonna get a job somewhere else in the league, either an assistant or a head coach in one of the other struggling franchises. I really do.
No, but the firing aside, it was like the build up to how he got fired, and you can just visibly see a head coach just lose respect of his players.
Yeah.
Spearheaded by LeBron James.
Yeah.
And they're just disrespecting him. He calls the play. LeBron just does the opposite. He wants to have Kyrie do the inbound. He's like, no, keep Dellavedova in. They're doing all this stuff. It's like, how are you supposed to prove that you're a good head coach if your players don't respect you?
I think they should have got rid of him a long time ago. I think this was a long time coming. It's kind of bad that it happened at this time because Tyronn Lue is gonna coach the All-Stars now. So it's
because David Blatt's not eligible anymore.
Yeah,
right?
so it's gonna be Tyronn Lue, which is kind of funny, right? But a lot of people have been saying that Tyronn Lue was actually the head coach the whole time, right? So then elevating him to head coach was actually the right decision. If you notice, after the game and a few days after that as well, Tyronn Lue's actually been calling out his top players in press conferences. He already did it a few times. He did it with LeBron James.
Like just for face value though, right? He's like, I have to do something.
No, and
he's
then
just gonna randomly call anything, and the
no, but apparently
look at the difference. He's calling them out. David Blatt would never do that. So he can say anything.
But apparently he was already doing that in the locker room, in ways that when they were looking at the film, David Blatt would ignore like LeBron missing his defensive rotation, but then Tyronn Lue would actually come out and say, "Hey, no, LeBron missed it over here." Apparently that's what actually happened in the locker rooms before this whole firing thing.
I guess, but like,
so if that's true, then this was the right necessary move that had to be done.
Is it a necessary move though? I still think it's kind of a gamble though, because Tyronn Lue is still a rookie head coach. Yeah. He's unproven, and there's so much pressure. Yeah. There's so much pressure for them to win a chip. It's like, I don't think just elevating a random rookie head coach with no accolades is gonna get them to the next level.
I think firing David Blatt had to happen, but at the time that they did, which is right now, I think that was kind of suspect.
It's such a bad timing because it makes the Cavs look so weak. They get blown out by 40, and then there's all this little chirping about how Dan Gilbert's in the locker room 40-50 minutes after the game and stuff, and then the next day you find out David Blatt gets fired. They just look weak. They look like they're scrambling. Like, they're desperate to do anything to try to get them to the next level.
It's because their expectations are just insanely high. They have the number 1 record in the East. Doesn't matter to them, right?
It's championship or bust, right?
Yeah, it is. And then another thing is, during this All-Star time, so Tyronn Lue's going to be the coach now. So in terms of timing, I think that was the worst thing. But I've been saying for a long time, David Blatt has to go. He really does. Not so much that he can't coach. It's just that the players have no faith in him whatsoever. But it appears that they do have more faith in Tyronn Lue, especially since last year when Tyronn Lue's the one who saved that game when David Blatt was trying to call a timeout and they had none left. That would have costed them the game.
That would have been free throw on the ball, and then
they would have 100% lost that game if it wasn't for Tyronn Lue. 100%. There's no doubt.
That's just one instance, right?
That's a huge instance. That's a playoff game against the Bulls. They could have lost. They could have lost the series.
They could have lost the series, but I don't think it's justified. Like, I still don't think it's. I know that like David Blatt has to go, but there's no justification of which he got fired, right? Which is kind of the worst part.
Yeah, that's the problem. What are you gonna say?
It's like, he's doing bad. It's like, but you're first in the East. It's like, but
we should be more like first. You know
how do you be more first? Like, no, you should have lost less games or whatever.
Hey, you know what? That's what comes with. He knew what he was getting himself into.
But he didn't know what he was getting himself into. No. What he signed up for was a Cavs rebuild with Kyrie. They didn't know LeBron was coming, and then LeBron comes, and then everything changes. And then, like, I remember when LeBron first came to the Cavs, he couldn't even get a hold of LeBron for the first month.
Yeah.
Like when he made his second decision to come back home, the coach couldn't even, get to LeBron. Like, how are you supposed to start off a good relationship? Everybody says that LeBron, he's so respectful to coaches and stuff. It's like, if that's how they started off,
hey,
like, how is he supposed to flourish? Everything's on him, right?
It's not David Blatt's fault. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and he got the brunt of everything. So it's not his fault whatsoever. He is a scapegoat. So,
but like, what happens? Okay, so say the playoffs come around,
and
then the Cavs lose again. Championship or bust. They bust. Now what do they do? Do they ship Kevin Love now, or do they ship Tyronn Lue?
No, that's what I'm thinking. They need to get rid of Kevin Love. So just
where's like the half-life for this team? It's like, okay, you got rid of your head coach. You got rid of one of 3 of the big 3. You got whatever. You got another piece. It's like the time, like LeBron is only getting older.
There's gonna be a scapegoat anytime. There's gonna be an excuse. If they lose, it's gonna be because of this. Then they're gonna make a change because they got to keep the fans always thinking that this is the reason, and then next year is the real time. They have to do that. It's marketing. You just have to, or else you lose faith in everybody, right? But the thing I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned Kevin Love, so what happens if it's last year and they didn't get Kevin Love and they kept Wiggins? What do you say about that?
It'd probably just be a better future.
Do you think it would be better in general? Like what about at the moment? Right now,
probably not, because at the moment Kevin Love was like when they're doing the whole signing, from Minnesota to Cavs. Kevin Love was a proven, if you will, commodity.
But what about right now? I'm talking about like, would Wiggins be better than Kevin Love?
It's so hard to say because you just have to ask yourself how well would Andrew Wiggins have developed with the help of LeBron, right?
Yeah.
The sky's the limit in terms of his ceiling.
So if his talent was at his level right now, what do you think?
I mean, you still need a player like Kevin Love to grab you your defensive rebounds. He can ignite fast breaks. He's a better three-point shooter than Wiggins in terms of stretching the floor.
Yeah.
So it's like if they had Wiggins, they'd probably be a smaller, faster team, which is what Tyronn Lue's trying to do. He's trying to get them to run more.
But they would be a lot better on defense. Like way better on defense.
That's true. They can lock down a lot of players.
Yeah, to me,
Wiggins
would have been a lot better.
They probably wouldn't need jumper. They can get another piece and stuff.
Yeah, but he can come off the bench. It doesn't matter. Like,
True.
To me, if they had Andrew Wiggins right now at his current level, I think their team would be much better than right now with Kevin Love.
Yeah, I don't think Wiggins would ever want to play for Cavs. You know, after what happened to him.
Oh yeah, of course. But if they didn't trade at all for Kevin Love and they just kept Wiggins, I think LeBron would have helped him develop into the Kawhi Leonard star player type of thing. LeBron would have the Tim Duncan effect. He would have passed the franchise off to him later, and Andrew Wiggins could learn under him. I think it would have been perfect.
Well, I mean, that's in retrospect, right?
Absolutely.
Wiggins plays with a chip on his shoulder every time he plays the Cavs, though.
Yeah, but Wiggins, man, he's really good. He's getting really... Right now, he's better than Kevin Love.
It's just he has to work on consistency and aggression. He needs to want the ball more.
And another thing is, like I always talk about, at least,
he's got that Kawhi Leonard
but the primetime games
kind of thing, right?
He has never played one primetime game in his life.
Who?
Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, and then we'll see what happens when Kevin Love plays primetime games.
Yeah. So the thing is, Andrew Wiggins. So that's another thing. We don't really know what he's capable of doing during that time. So in that sense, it's hard to predict, but. I would take him instead of Kevin Love. I'll tell you that right now. I'm a huge LeBron fan. Andrew Wiggins next to LeBron is better than Kevin Love.
For me, the Cavs window is slowly closing.
It is slowly closing.
If they don't close it this season, they're going to make a couple more changes. And depending on those changes, that might be it, right?
I think it's a little bit longer than
LeBron's prime, and he's going to be the guy, right? Because eventually you have to shift to Kyrie and whatever else.
Not Kevin Love, I'll tell you that. And then the last topic we're going to break down here is pretty recent, actually. New stuff. Blake Griffin breaking his hand with some sort of altercation with an equipment manager. Something like that. Which is just... okay.
It's kind of bizarre, right?
It's unreal. Like, come on.
It's kind of out of character of Blake, though, right?
But is he just dumb? Or I feel like when you see him on the court, his decision making is suspect.
Yeah.
I'm putting it lightly. It's suspect, especially during clutch times in big games.
Yeah.
So this thing, it's just come on. What are you doing? Your team's already getting written off by a lot of people.
Yeah. He was supposed to return very soon in the next week or two. Now he's out 4 to 6 with a fractured hand.
So what do you have to say about this in terms of Kevin? Kevin. It's still.
You gotta get him out of your mind.
I got it. Just Blake Griffin. What does this mean for the Clippers moving forward?
I just feel bad for Chris Paul.
Absolutely. But not only him, though.
He's putting the team on his back, trying to keep this team afloat. And then you have them shipping off Josh Smith because that wasn't working out. Lance Stevenson's not working out. Paul Pierce is a fossil nowadays.
He is a fossil, but when the clutch comes, I'm gonna go back to this.
Maybe they're reserving him for playoffs.
We'll go back to this podcast. When he scores that game-winning shot in the playoffs in the first round this year, and then I'll go back to this.
He doesn't have any help. It's what you have Austin Rivers coming off the bench. It's what's going on?
JJ Redick is playing a little bit better.
JJ Redick's playing well, but it's
yeah.
Chris Paul can only do so much, and his window is rapidly closing.
So if you're the Clippers, how does this make you feel about Blake Griffin? Because he's been making poor decisions for his whole career, and then this off the court. Oh, and not only that, before you answer, if you're the Clippers, do you suspend him? This is...
Well, they already sent him home from their road travels, and the league is supposed to look into it.
Okay.
So if there's any suspensions, I think it's gonna be thrown by the league, not
the league. Okay.
Yeah, not the franchise itself. But regardless of any suspensions, he's gonna be out 4 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And say he gets a 3-game suspension.
So if you're Chris Paul,
that's what 2/3 of the season's already gone.
If you're Chris Paul and the rest of the Clippers, doesn't this just make you lose faith in him? He's your best player. Well, it's him
Yeah.
and Chris Paul, but
Hey, until we get more details, maybe he hit him and it was justified. Like, we don't know the full story.
But being a professional athlete,
you need to protect you need to protect your livelihood, which is your body, right?
Yeah, your livelihood, your brand. Thousands and thousands of people are relying on him and hoping he brings them to the playoffs and takes them out of the first 2 rounds. So it's like you're letting a lot of people down because a lot of the times it's because of their ego. I'm not going to rush to that conclusion, but what are the odds it's actually, like, I'm doing air quotation marks, justified?
Well, I don't think it's ever justified to hit somebody, especially when you're an NBA guy, like, 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah.
Probably like a whole foot taller than an equipment manager.
Even if the guy makes fun of his family or something, even then, you have to compose yourself. You really do. It's hard. I know I can just say that right now, but you just have to. Yeah,
they're people too, but your livelihood and your brand is your business, right?
Yeah.
And this is just terrible for business.
And it's like reading a YouTube comment. If they're talking smack about you, there's going to be thousands and thousands of them. If you see them all in real life, you're going to fight all of them? No, you're just going to let it go. Blake Griffin doesn't know what he's doing. I can't believe... I don't know.
Well, there goes Clippers' hopes of anything, right?
Yeah, that...
They're still going to make playoffs, right?
They can still win that first round.
No, they're still going to make playoffs, right? But entering into the playoffs, Chris Paul is going to be missing an arm and a leg going into playoffs because he worked so hard to get them into the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's like, and then what? You get bounced second round at best?
Well, Blake Griffin better be ready by that time and ready to drop 35-plus points every game, which I think he still has that capability.
Yeah,
but his decision-making, like, come on, he has all the talent in the world. His jump shot's a lot better than when he first entered the league, and he relies on better post moves instead of his athleticism. But with that lack of intangibles... Then it's like, well, what are you going to do?
Factor, huh?
He doesn't
have that winner's mentality.
Like Chris Paul does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, that's pretty much...
But then that's the bane of, Clippers' problems, right?
Yeah.
DeAndre doesn't have that winner's mentality.
And he can't even shoot free throws. That's a big deal in the playoffs.
Of course, especially when everything slows down and they just target him. And then, I've said this time and time before, Doc Rivers is overrated. Look at... Because he's half GM, half coach, right?
Yeah.
Look at the roster you put together. Supposedly the best roster in Clippers history. But then I was saying in preseason, chemistry issues.
Yeah.
And you saw the chemistry issues. Josh Smith is already gone. Lance Stevenson gets no minutes.
But man,
Austin Rivers sucks.
They should have went to the conference finals last year. And that Golden State always has a little bit of a hard time with the Clippers just because that intense California rivalry they have. So to me, that would have just changed everything. This conversation would be a lot different if they went to that conference final, even if they lost 4-0, even if that happened.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, they're kind of like the Seahawks, one play kind of thing completely changes the fate of the franchise.
But the Seahawks, man, I can't believe how lucky these guys get. How can Minnesota miss that chip shot of a field goal at 27 yards? Which would have won the game. Seattle wouldn't even have been in the next round.
That's a different podcast, though.
I'm glad they got eliminated. I'll tell you that. But Super Bowl is in 2 weeks, guys. We'll see how that goes. But that wraps up the NBA's.
A lot of NBA news. When it gets closer to All Star, we'll give our opinions of who got snubbed, who deserves it, what you feel about the All Star being in the 6th, what you're excited for.
I have a lot to say about Kyle Lowry. We'll leave it for that next podcast, which is coming up actually a lot sooner than I thought it was. So lots more to come, guys. WBR signing off.